podcast where we focus on helping you claim what's rightfully yours, your health and your freedom. We explore the three main areas of health: the physical realm, the biochemical realm, and the mental and emotional realm. We also explore all the areas of lifestyle we can find that will help you live more abundantly, regardless of where you're starting. And remember, in life, you'll either make excuses or create results. You choose. I'm your host, Dr. Josh Hant, and I'm glad to be with you here today. Make sure to head on down to the show notes and click on the link to join our tribe of human-powered life heroes, where we'll update you on new shows, events, product launches, and so much more. Now, it's time to enjoy the show. Word. Okay, so here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Human Powered Life podcast. We have an amazing guest today. I'm going to hold the book up right here. So we have this really cool author with us today. Her story is quite amazing. This is Michelle Slater, or should I say Dr. Michelle Slater. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Josh. Dr. Hant.
Yeah, first names are very cool for me. So as long as that's good with you, we'll just rock and roll forward that way.
Absolutely, Josh.
Yeah. So when I got your book sent to me, it said "Starving to Heal in Siberia." I'm like, hold on, this just seems crazy. But I'm like, okay, fasting, but starving. I want to know more. So I started to poke around online. I'm like, wow, this woman's had a pretty interesting journey. And straightforward, honest, I have not been through the book yet. I have. Well, you can't see my part of my library there, but I have books sent to me and I read quite a bit, and I'm in a car a lot, so it's mostly audiobooks now. But your story is very fascinating to me, so I will be very excited, even after this interview, to go dive very deep. So let everybody know a little bit about your story, because chronic disease, Lyme disease, these things are running rampant, autoimmune disease in the country, if not the world. So bring people back to go forward, if you don't mind.
No, I'm very happy to share my story, even though I don't like going back. No one likes to go back to when they were sick. But if it's in the good effort to share the healing and the success and how everyone can get better, then that's why I wrote the book, and I want to pay it forward and share. So going back, Josh, I have been this high functioning, high achieving, energetic girl who woke up excited about the day, year after year, day after day. And I was a professor at the university. I ran, I skied, I hiked, I was a musician. And all of a sudden, things just started, weird things just started happening that I didn't have the energy. It took me longer to prepare my lectures. I was feeling tired running. And then it was getting far worse, to the point that I would start a sentence and I didn't remember what I was talking about, so I couldn't finish the sentence, and there was no running. And I was visiting doctor after doctor, and nobody could figure it out. So by the time my chronic late-stage neurological Lyme disease was diagnosed, I had to quit my tenure-track job as a professor. I was pretty much in bed. There was no running, there was no hiking, there was no skiing. And I spent 6 years pursuing every treatment I could find, from traditional medicine and antibiotics to alternative medicine, naturopaths, Reiki, everything imaginable, supplements, Lyme disease protocols that were on the natural side. I tried all of it. And by the summer of 2017, and after having heard for so long, you have to get used to this new normal, and I was just screaming inside, this is not normal. Nothing about this is normal. I cannot get used to this. And furthermore, I cannot live in this body. It is inhabitable at this point. And so nothing was working. I was really bedridden, and for most of the time. And I was at the point where I thought the best thing for me would be to commit assisted suicide, because I didn't have any light to give. And I was a person who had always liked to bring light to the world. And I just felt like I was draining the people around me. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to try to come up with some last ditch efforts that are not peer reviewed studies, that are not, you know, ratified by this doctor and that doctor. And just really by a strange series of happenstances, on a forum for patients who at that point had autoimmune disorders and candida, because I had developed an autoimmune disorder on top of the Lyme because my immune system was so weakened, and candida as a side effect from all of the industrial strength antibiotics that I had
Mm.
taken. And I came across this quote, Josh, that if you deprive your body of an external power supply, such as food or water, that the cells in the body become like thermonuclear reactors and they
Mhm.
incinerate diseased cells and tissue. And I was like, that is that makes scientific sense to me somehow. And it was fascinating. And so I tracked down the doctor, and it was not mythological. It was a real quote from an MD who just happened to live in the mountains of Siberia. And so I somehow dragged my body to Siberia after consulting with him. He did not want to take an American patient who had all of these problems. He was very skeptical, but he did take me, and I spent a couple of months with him. And he put me through this radical treatment that was an elegant solution, because instead of putting things into my body all the time, it was about what to take out of my body. And instead of getting used to a new abnormal, I came out of Siberia feeling like I was 17 again. And I haven't looked back.
See, that's really wild because I know people that teach protocols. Lyme disease, whether it's mild or in your case, which was beyond insane, it's debilitating at various different levels, and people dealing with their problem by just self-medicating or just being lethargic or having joint pain. That's, like you said, that's not normal, and dealing with it is not normal. So to me, it's just very fascinating. Like, the universe makes no mistakes. You happen to read a quote by this guy, and those written words changed your life, right? Because you were willing to take those action steps to move forward. You know, uh, I have family, my wife's family, someone had really traumatic brain cancer at a very young age, which this is just in a matter of weeks ago. And, I'm having this conversation with you right now, listening, going, holy crap, what if he does something like this now in his healing process? What if he does something like, what's the possibility for change? So for you in this journey, when you were there, I mean, we don't have to go through every single day, but we talk about starving or reducing food or reducing water, like dry fasting, you mentioned. So can you explain what that means? How long were you fasting for? What were the thoughts? What were the sensations like internally that were going on as you started, as you were willing to go, I'm pulling the trigger. I'm just going to do it. Was it's assisted suicide or it's heal?
Yes, that is the question. And people tend to initially, get a little skittish when they
Mm.
hear what it really is. But all the people I know who have tried it and taken it on have had their lives changed, especially the
Mm.
people who've been ill, or even people who aren't ill. He recommends
Yes.
that everyone does it, because it really, even now that I'm not sick anymore, I still do it. And I just noticed that when I come out of it and I break the fast, I feel like I could run 100 miles. It just
Mm.
like my energy levels are so become so superhuman. So that's interesting. But it is very radical. It's not the fasting mimicking diet. It's not intermittent fasting. It's not even slightly reducing food and water. It is all in, no
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
no water, no brushing your teeth, no taking a shower, no lip balm, no lotion, no contact with water. You can look at water, and that's it.
That's about it.
You can sit by a waterfall, and that's actually very healing, but no contact. And so it's like, we're both runners. So it's like a marathon runner training to run a marathon. You're not going to go out and dry fast for the full 9 to 11 days. That is what it takes to have consecutive days with no
Wow.
interruptions, 9 days. On the ninth day, the ninth night, he claims that's when the body gets to the point where it is killing off some serious stuff. So
9 days.
9 days. So right there in bed that day, and I don't recommend that anyone do this. I recommend that people read my book where I have the protocol detailed, and I worked on the protocol with my doctor. It's a protocol that I did, or that people, work with him at a Zoom consultation. He's very reasonable, very accessible. Um, but what I did, because I was like, well, let's do this for 24 hours. So I was right there in my bed, and I just went for it and did 24 hours with no food or no water. And I was like, well, this certainly doesn't feel any worse than the Lyme disease feels. I might be thirsty, but I'm fine. Um, I'm no worse off than
Hmm.
I was
Yeah, of
that
course. Of
day.
course.
And then when I did talk to him, it's reducing, you go off all of your supplements, all of your medications, but you consult about that with him. You
Yeah,
don't,
of course.
serious.
Yeah, this is not, we're not telling everybody to do this right now.
No,
Just
no,
want to be really clear, but this is an experience that we're talking about.
absolutely. And then before I went, he had me do a 3-day dry fast. And I noticed that the initial ones, the 1 day, the 3-day, you feel more thirsty. And then once your body has worked up to it, once I arrived, he had me do 7 days of no food, no water. He likes you to sleep outside. So I slept out in
Mm.
my sleeping bag. And it's very beautiful with a night sky in Siberia. And, there's like the dew in the air. So it's just, a pleasant atmosphere. And he likes everybody to walk. Now, walking was very hard for me, but I found that as the days went by and I dry fasted, my body was just, it was clearing off this stuff and I had more energy. So I was able to do the walking he wanted me to do.
Mm.
And then he rehabilitates you through a very important exit. And that's so important to get the exit right. So to gradually taper fluids and very simple foods back in. And then he put me through the quintessential 9-day dry fast, which is what he has used for 30 years to
Mm.
cure patients, treat patients with all kinds of diseases, not just Lyme disease, all kinds of autoimmune diseases, rheumatoid arthritis. He's had a lot of cancer patients, um, many different
Yeah.
ailments. And so after the 9 day, you go through a longer exit to bring the body back up. And at the end of my stay there, I was really feeling like I call it in the book shining and bouncing. I just felt like I could conquer the world at that point. I had not felt like that for years.
Yeah, and that's really fascinating. It's really neat that they take you through the process of 1, 3, and then growing and growing. When you were, you mentioned being thirsty. You met like I'm Jewish. I've done no food, no water, 24 hours. Do it every year. This year I didn't do it because I had an ultra marathon, a couple of days after. Um, but yeah, it's challenging. You like I joke with my family, like we're all meeting together, and there's all of these miserable people that are like looking at the watch, going, "We have 9 minutes, 37 seconds, 36." Like and just counting, like they're just like ravenous to because we're so addicted to the foods of life and whatever maybe in all these foods. So for you, as you were going through that 1 day to the 3 day, was there a headspace change? Was there, or were you just saying, screw it, I'm all in?
I was I was saying I'm all in. I literally have nothing to lose.
Mm.
I had no fear. I
Okay.
also felt like this doctor sounded sensible. And then, when I started talking to him and figuring out his protocol,
Mm.
I felt, like I could trust him. And I did feel thirsty, as I said, during the 1 day. So I know what you mean.
Mm.
And during the 3 day. But as my body adapted to this
Mm.
methodology, I was not. I was I was maybe mildly thirsty a couple of times on the 7th day, on the 7th day, but by the 9 day, I just felt like I had been catapulted into this meditative state. I just felt peaceful, contemplative. It would be like a natural
Mm.
stress relief to anyone. I just, I just felt sort of blissed out. Um,
Okay.
It was sunny in Siberia. It was August, September. It was September, and it was actually unseasonably warm. I was lying out on my yoga mat in the sun. I was like reading poetry and meditating, and I was just like, okay, my body is the doctor. My mind is taking a rest, and so it at that point, I didn't have any uncomfortable symptoms. And that was amazing to me too.
Hey, we're giving you a short break here where you can head down to the show notes or lifestylelocker.com and join our tribe of human-powered life heroes. You'll be the first to know about new shows, events, product launches, affiliate specials, and more. And now, back to the show.
Yeah, and personally, just share a little bit of just some of the stuff I've done. I've never done anything dry fasting that long. That's now, I don't want to say it's insane. That's just something I've never done. It sounds crazy in my head when you think about it, but I've done 3-day fast, water. And I can tell you personally, and the audience, if you've never done, that's an easy way to start, right? If you have liquids, and then, the no liquids is definitely going to be a little more challenging, but I think it's very possible. But your headspace, for me, like I'll say I was miserable that first day. 24 to 36 hours was not pleasant. And then you're like, your body starts creating something called autophagy, which I'm sure you know of, right? We start killing off these bad cells, whether it's just the stuff that's internally or it's a cancer, whatever it may be, your body's starting to get rid of things. You feel so good. Like you're very focused. To me, it was very wild, like how focused I felt, like the energy. I'm like, this is really odd. I have 0 calories in and I feel great.
Exactly. Right? And I devote a whole chapter of my book to autophagy and how the body recycles these compromised cells and cellular debris, and research being done on that, because that's exactly what dry fasting is. It's really fast forwarding, accelerating this process of autophagy, and there's really no substitute for it. So in the first few days, you really reduce and taper what you do eat and drink before you start the dry fast. But still the first couple of days, your body is really just working on the undigested food, whatever you have.
Yeah.
So that's why it takes these cumulative consecutive days to get to the point where the autophagy is able to really incinerate diseased cells and tissue.
Yeah.
That's what's extraordinary. And that wasn't the end of it. He sent me home, and once I knew how to do it and I was safe, he had me repeat the 9-day dry fast 2 months after my return home.
Okay.
So, I did that, and I kept checking in with him. And then after that, I've done dry fasts as it has nothing to do with the Lyme disease. But, I did take antibiotics for so many years that it's also, just clearing your body of all of that. And it's just, continuing to really build your immune system. But
yeah. So then I have another question for you. I know obviously you've been to medical doctors, you've seen all of these specialists, you probably had blood work and all of these things done. Fast forward, you end up doing this 9-day thing, dry fast, you come back, you do another 2 months later. Do you go back to the medical doctor, maybe get another workup, and they look at you going, what do you know that I don't know?
Okay, so Josh, thank you for asking that question. And I can say that, I think doctors used to look at my blood work and like hold back tears. And after the dry fasting, I had doctors say to me in Europe, Michelle, if all of my patients went to Siberia like you did, I would have no more patients. I would lose all of my patients. I would be happy, but I would lose all my patients. And then I haven't had a doctor really in 5 years because I haven't gotten sick. But I finally they do talk about this in the book. I do carry the genes for Alzheimer's, the APOE4. So just being a proactive person, I sought out an Alzheimer's specialist just to say, here I am, I'm in my 40s. What should I do if I have these genes? And she was like, well, let's do some blood work. And she was like, wow, you have the best blood work of any of my patients. So it's like, Okay.
Yeah.
We're doing well. We're doing well.
Yeah.
No
And
one had ever told me that for
yeah.
6 years. So that's a great thing to hear. You can't imagine how grateful I am every single day, even
Yeah.
5 years later, that I have my life and my health and these good blood work reports. Absolutely.
Yeah. I would never guess having this conversation that you ever had anything wrong with you. You know, like the
Thank you. I
it's
never tell anyone because I don't like to be identified as a formerly sick person. So
mm-hmm.
before this book came out, unless I had to explain a gap on my CV, I wouldn't tell new people I met
Yeah.
because I just wanted them to see me as this healthy person. And I never
Yeah.
wanted to identify with being sick. And I think that that's an important part of
Yeah.
being well, is that you don't really cement yourself as being a person who has Lyme disease, but it's always like looking forward. I'm a person
Yeah.
who's trying to get better. So that's always where my
Yeah.
thought was going.
Yeah. And the amazing power, like that innate wisdom in the body when given the right tools. And that's all you did. You had the right tools and the body did what it needed to do. And I'm a firm believer if something can be created in the body by bad things, you know, whether it's bad food, bad physical, chemical, emotional stressors, the opposite can happen too, whether it's cancer, Lyme disease. Like firmly believe that the body has that ability. Should we
Yeah,
give it that 100%? I mean, you're
I
living proof.
do.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting. I was thinking as you were talking 9 days, my father loves learning about all this stuff. And he's a chiropractor. I'm a chiropractor. He's a chiropractor as well. He has done, have you heard of the master cleanse?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So
I
he's done,
felt myself.
yeah, he's done that for like 30 days at a time. And people think he's nuts. And I can't. I'm going to share the book. I'm going to go through the book. I'm going to give it to him to read after, because I think this is something he's always struggled with his weight, and he fasts every single week, at least 1 or 2 days a week. He eats really well, but for whatever reason, I mean, he's hired people that's worked with his insulin and all these things, and he's always had this struggle, always, and he can't lose weight. Like he's like, I fast for 9 days straight with water or whatever it may be, and he goes, I gained 3 pounds. He goes, it doesn't make any freaking sense. So I think this may be another, way for, I'm glad that we're having the conversation, you know, uh, personally, but also, like you're going to have a huge impact on other people that you don't even know you're going to have an impact on by doing this,
Oh,
which
thank
is
you.
so
Thank you for
powerful.
saying that, Josh. That is why I wrote the book because
Mm-hmm.
when I saw what it did for me, I thought, I cannot sit on this. I have a moral obligation to
Mm-hmm.
write this book. And I wanted to finish the academic book I had been writing when I got sick with Lyme. But I was like, no, that book has to wait because this is so
Yeah.
important. So if it can help anyone, I must get it out there. So I would be delighted for your father to read it. And I can guarantee that you do not gain weight while you're dry fasting.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, I'm going to share a quote with you that his name is Dr. BJ Palmer, one of the developers of chiropractic, or the developer of chiropractic. He said, you never know how far reaching something you think, say, or do will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. So you've embodied that through your journey. And I'm thankful that you had to go through that journey. I know I don't want to sound mean, but I think it's you've exposed an amazing healing power that's been built in all of us. So it's
Thank
very
you.
powerful.
Thank you so much. That is a very powerful quote. And
Mm.
yes, that is the idea to do
Yeah.
that. And I'm really happy to share. I think that Lyme disease did give me some gifts. And so to have come out of it and to be able to share this,
Mm.
that's really important.
Yeah. So the next question, just to pivot a little bit away from the fasting, we'll talk about food for a second. Pre-problem and post-problem. Have you changed? Have you become more of an advocate for better foods or different foods? Do you crave different things now? What was it like before and after?
So, Josh, actually, I would really say no change there because I was like the hippie child who
Mm.
insisted on my parents were not hippies, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but I was like the organic child. I insisted on
Mm.
shopping at the co-op, eating organic vegetables.
Okay.
In the early, 90s, I was juice fasting, water fasting, eating
Okay.
all organic. I became raw vegan. I was raw vegan for years, vegetarian. I now eat like wild caught fish and but it's
Okay.
still very like greens, kale,
Okay.
lots of kale, some salmon. So I'm not saying that it's changed a lot, and those are the foods that I love. So
Okay.
I still love them. Um, I would say the only thing that did change was post fasting for the first year or so when I would come out of a fast and I would very carefully follow the exit protocol. I never overate. I didn't choose the wrong foods. But after I'd come through it after 3 or 4 weeks and I was, just having dinner with friends, even in a place like Craft, in Chelsea, in a city that it's very farm to table, but
Hmm.
it's like even oily, salty greens. And I would feel like a little went a long way. And I was like trying to navigate the post fasting, like
Yeah.
leptin, ghrelin, hunger hormones. Where was
Yep.
that coming? So for like the first year, it was tough to figure out the right quantity. And then I noticed that I did have less of a tolerance for even olive oil and salt, things like that,
Okay.
which was interesting to note.
Yep.
Uh, but after that, it all evened out, and I was like, I could fast, I could come out of a fast, and I still kept my even keel, and I was fine. But to get that, and I talk about that in the book too, because I wanted to share that I had moments where, um, you know, I had to really figure things out, and I want people to know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and everybody, you need to know you are your own experiment in life. Not everybody is the same thing. And I've shared journeys on my other podcasts I used to have before this, before the Human Powered Life. I starting in the ultramarathon world, I read all these books and like, all these guys are vegans and vegetarians. I'm gonna do this. I just, I'm an all in person, and I did it for months, felt great. But I lost so much muscle, man. I lost so much of my body, but I still felt good. But my wife's like, you gotta put some weight on. Like you're getting too skinny here. And I found out just really by testing and energy and how I sense my health as I've gone forward. I work really well on good healthy red meat, like really good. I mean, I have raw liver every single day. And it's odd, and I'm not telling anybody to do that, but you can be a vegetarian or have just wild caught fish and be a vegetarian is the other piece, or you can be a carnivore for all I care. You need to know what works best for you. So it's not that there's a diet for everybody, but fasting is something that whether you're a vegan or you're a carnivore or anywhere in between, you can definitely do, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I write about that in my book too, how like each body needs different
Mhm.
foods. And so do not eat what I eat or the quantity that I eat because that is not what you need. You
Yeah.
have to intuitively
Mhm.
discover what you need. So,
Yeah.
I really encourage everyone to find that for themselves.
Yeah. So Michelle, where's the best places for people to find the book, to find you, to connect? I'm sure you're inspiring people right now all over the world. What's the best place?
So I know that my book is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Target, various places like that. And I have a website, michelleslater.com. I also have a series of blog posts there too, and an Instagram, I think is Michelle Slater New York, NY, Michelle Slater.
Okay.
So I have a variety of places to
Yeah.
reach me. And I'm glad for people to read the book. I also want to note, Josh, that Starving to Heal in Siberia is
Mhm.
available on Audible now
Ah,
too.
good.
And I'm really pleased about that because when I was so sick with Lyme, I couldn't have even picked up the book. Even holding it, the joints in my hands would hurt.
Okay.
The words would dance on the page. I have a PhD. I could not make my way through a page of a book.
Mm,
So I
okay.
really need to push with the publisher to have an Audible and to have someone who had more of a deep, slow voice.
Mm,
So that's available to people who are in my situation and are not
yeah.
able to read.
Yeah.
Or so that's out there too.
Like that's perfect for me. Also, I commute. I'm in a car a bunch, and I also run quite a bit. And if I'm going to put headphones in, 90% of the time I am listening to a book. And oftentimes I listen to, if it's depending on how many hours. I know this is what a 5 hour, 6 hour book. Is it
I think it might even be a little bit longer
a
than
little bit
that.
longer? Okay. Okay, yeah. So like sometimes I finish a book on a run. Like I consume it that way, and I think there are a lot of others like me out there. So, Michelle, this has been a lot of fun. I'm very excited personally to go through the book now, and now maybe even get the Audible, or maybe have both. Who knows, right? I can read and listen at the same time. Now I'm almost inspired. I'm thinking Siberia. I'm like, I live in the Northeast. Maybe I'll sit outside in the cool weather and read a book. So everybody, make sure you head over to lifestylelocker.com. Head over to this episode, scroll down. We'll have connections to Michelle. You can get the book. We'll put all of the links there that are really necessary. So Michelle, this has been a lot of fun. I want to thank you so much for sharing, and make sure everybody, you stay tuned, head over to the website, and you can watch the video portion next. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. I really enjoyed speaking with you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Human Powered Life podcast. Make sure to head over to lifestylelocker.com to check out all the details on the show and to watch part 2 of this episode, which is only in video format. We also have this audio portion in video format if you want. Once again, I'm your host, Dr. Josh Hant, for the Human Powered Life podcast, and I'm looking forward to staying connected with you as a Human Powered Life hero. Remember to join the tribe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.